Hey, what's slicing, everybody? Chris back with CAC Knives with another knife review, another button lock I got to experience thanks to Monthly Knife Club. Before we get into it today, if you guys could like and subscribe, it means the world to me. I do this for fun, and I like to get more people within my own little knife community here, and I love to hear comments and what you guys think about knives, and even recommendations on knives I should get to add to the collection. And I also just made my full collection update video last week. Go check it out if you want to see the kind of wild and crazy stuff that I collect. But without further ado, let's get into it. Today we are doing this Kizer Swayback. This was the Monthly Knife Club knife for January, the first knife of 2024. And let me tell you, it was a good one. Kizer's always a good company to go to, in my experience, for Monthly Knife Club. Great choice. And we're going to compare it to a knife that pretty much costs the same amount of money. The Sencut, it's this Watuga, I believe is the name. And I do have a review on this knife. Man, I just can't talk today, can I? And we're gonna see which one I think is superior today after this little review of the Kizer here, and which one I think is better worth your time and money. Now, I will say this Kizer knife is pretty good, as I expected it to be. It's a little tight coming out, but a lot of button locks are. You kind of got to flip them and close them about 50 times, to really get them to start settling in. Based on my experience, I've only handled 3 button locks, so I don't know if that's the same for all of them, but, my Sencut, it took at least, 10 to 20 flips and closes before it really started settling in. And this one took a little more, I'd say, but I'd say we're there at this point. And it is a pretty looking knife with good fit and finish, but I'd expect nothing less from Kizer. It's actually an N690 steel, which is a budget steel for sure. You can see, nice and smooth. Well, not on that one though, huh? No, that's not usually my experience with the knife, but yeah, as you can see, there's a little bit of button stick still in there, and sometimes I don't have that problem, and sometimes I do. Now, if we use the button, still there, looks like, and I definitely do not have that problem whatsoever on my Watuga, but I think the weight of the blade really helps that, and that's hurting this knife. But let's just go ahead and go over this knife real quick, and then we will get into the comparison. We have a stainless steel clip, though I will admit it's a little tight. And I think it's just due to the way that clip's designed. Like, if they would have made this come up and over compared to the Watuga here. I'm sorry that I keep bringing it up, but it just has I'm showing examples of what they can do. To make it deep carry. I think not only would that have made this clip deep carry, but it also would have given it more breather room where it wasn't so tight. Do I think this will go in and out of your pocket? Yes. About that much, at least. Yeah, about right there. That much will be sticking out for sure. And it might bite your pocket with it being that tight. It's pretty tight. If I can't lift it up with my finger, that's going to be an issue. The purple G10 looks very good. I'd expect nothing less from Kizer. Like I said, Kizer's a very good company. It's a Chinese-made company, but a very good company nonetheless. It's a smaller knife, but it was designed by Swags, and most of Swags knives are kind of curvy like this. Like, you can definitely see Swags' element in the design. She's one of the very few rare female knife designers. Now, this blade is very good. It's kind of, sheep's foot Warren Cliffy style blade here. And they are the easiest to sharpen, I would say, because it's just a straight line. It is stone washed to help with corrosion resistance, and I just think good stone washes look real good on knives. There you can see Swag's logo along with the very small model number, if that'll come in there. It's probably hard to see on the video, but it's very comfortable. I'm not sure how I feel about this jutting out this far. You know, it's comfortable, but it kind of makes it, I definitely feel it like in my fingers. It's pushing my fingers out. This jumping up here is really nice. It's a great spot, and it's not sharp, it's not biting my thumb. I would say it's on bearings. It pretty much has to be. The way that it feels, you can usually just tell when knives feel like they're on bearings or not. I do appreciate the very minimal hardware that goes into this knife. You got one screw in the back and one right there. There's also heavy milling in there. It's a very light knife, very light knife. I mean, I know it's smaller, but you're not going to notice this thing's in the pocket. Now, as you can see there, you know, if I give it a little bit of, well, till that time, if I give it a little bit of a kick, that knife flings shut every time. But if you're wanting this to gravity shut, yeah. You see the problem there? Every time. It's like the button prevents it. Oh, did it that time, kind of, but, you know, I don't know if the button's just a little stiff or what. Maybe some people with more experience with button locks can tell me down in the comments. Do I think it should dissuade you from buying this knife? No, I do not. The knife is still very good. It's very comfortable. It's very smooth. Like I said, I wish this didn't bite you down here as much. I don't know. It's like it's trying to push your fingers out. Like, I don't know if you can see how far that butt's out there at the bottom, but there's a reason it's called the swayback. You can definitely see the sway right there. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's a pretty solid knife from Kizer, around 50 bucks. Let's get some size comparisons here, and then we will compare it to the Sencut. Let's show you the average size EDC here. I'll go ahead and bring out the Swayback Elementum, as well as the QSP Penguin, both of which are pretty much the same size in terms of knives. And as you can see, the Swayback's just it's a tad bit smaller. It's about the same length. So, I mean, we're talking, you know, average EDC size knife here. Though I will say it's definitely on the lighter side. Let's go with the, let's go ahead and bring my Zombie Rat 2 out here. I know a lot of people are a huge fan of this knife. I do have a video on this if you want to really check her out. That was done by Way of Knife and EDC Gear House. And let's put my my Demco up here, which is a little bit of a larger knife for sure. But yeah, it's pretty much the same size as the Rat 2, I'd say. Like, almost to an exact T. Besides the little bit of different design in the handle there, they are pretty much the same size knives. Now, let's get into my thoughts on this knife compared to the Watuga. The Kizer is way lighter. Like, when I picked them both up, like, I don't even feel like I'm picking anything up when I pick the Kizer up, to be honest. You can feel the Sencut. You can't really feel the Kizer, but, and yes, I know this is obvious, the Sencut's like twice the size. So what do you expect? The Sencut does not weigh that much for its size. Okay? I would say comfortability, 100% goes to the Sencut, because I'm not being stabbed. I'm not being stabbed in the hand. I mean, not necessarily stabbed, but my fingers aren't feeling like they're being pushed away. by that big bump at the bottom of the handle. I'm honestly not a huge fan of that. There's a tiny little hump here with the Sencut, but for my hands, I wear large size gloves. They fall into that perfect. The Sencut also has chimping on the spine there, but it's curved in the way to where you can get up and kind of press down, if you know what I'm trying to say here. Like you can get more close into your work. This isn't really designed for work, I would say, for heavy duty work on such a smaller knife. I mean, you can definitely do that, but there's nothing up here that is allowing you to do the same thing that the Sencut is. Now, in terms of the clip, the Sencut has the generic Swayback clip. Some people hate it, some people like it. It never bothers me. However, most of the time, including with this knife, eventually I get the, let's see if I got it. Bring my backlash out here. Swayback offers these colored titanium clips, or you can get a black one, and I pretty much replace all my Swayback clips with those. But I don't have a problem with their stainless clips. I just like titanium clips better. So it's replaceable for, you know, about $10 if you want a titanium clip on there. Where the Kizer, I mean, you might be able to find a clip that fits this, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy. Not to mention the clip that the Sencut comes with. It definitely functions a lot better. It's deep carry, you know, and it doesn't bite my hand at all. I maybe can understand how that would bite some people's hands, but the, you know, here, I'll really try to get a real strong grip. Yeah. No marks on my hand from the clip whatsoever, as you can see. And there's not going to be marks on my hand from this clip either. I can't feel it biting me, but my point is that neither one of them bites your hand when you grip the knife. However, this clip is so tight, it's just going to be a pain. Plus, it's not deep carry. So if you're somebody that has a problem with that, then you're probably not going to like it. Now, the Sencut is D2, I believe. Hopefully, I'm not saying the wrong steel. Oh, I got the box right here. Let's see if the box says, because I can't remember. Yep, D2 off the top of my head. What steel it is? It is D2, and the blade shapes are very similar. You know, they both have this kind of sheep's foot point blade, which is going to make them easy to sharpen. Now, I will say, you got a lot more room with what could be used as a finger choil as well, but when you're sharpening, you like the more room, the better generally there behind the blade. And you got a lot more room with the Sencut. That way you don't screw your blade up here at the end, right? The Sencut also has an extra means of deployment, so it gains an extra point in fidget factor. It has this cutout here. I can reverse flick it. You'll also be able to thumb flick it if that's your style. I'm not really a thumb flicker, so I'm not too great at that. But it has a flipper as well, so you know they're about the same price. I'd say really the biggest difference is, and this also has some options just like the Kizer. So, you know, it has wooden handle and a black blade, and it has a few other options. If you want the N690 steel, it's not a very common steel that I see. I mean, I would, you know, they're different compositions, but I would say in terms of price, N690 and D2, N690 is probably a little bit more expensive, but probably not much. And D2 is going to hold an edge for a long time, and they stone wash this blade as well, because D2's corrosion resistance is not great. But with the stone wash blade, that increases that corrosion resistance a lot. Now, the Sencut does have one more screw that you have to take out to disassemble the knife. So I guess if that's a factor for you, there you go. But it's also milled on the inside. Pretty heavily skeletonized in there. I would say it's definitely more skeletonized than the Kizer is. So, I don't know. For around the same price, I know a lot of people like purple, but that's the thing. With these scales on this Sencut, you can dye it whatever color you want because they're just natural jade in this case. And as far as I know, there's not a jade version of this knife. So, you know, I would have to give it to the Sencut. Sometimes, well, see, it's going away. The button stick when I first got the Sencut was a little bad. Like, you could feel it stick, but the longer I've had the knife, the more that's went away. Granted, I have had that knife way longer than the Kizer, and maybe a little bit of lube just needs done to the button, because, or maybe to the pivot. I'm not even sure what continues to cause that. Maybe the pivot's too tight. I don't know, because it flips out just fine though. So if the pivot was too tight, generally you have some trouble. I think it's to do with the button design. So you even seen there, oh yeah, kind of hit the camera a little bit there. But you see there, if I push the button in, the blade is free falling, but not very well. If I do it on the Sencut, that blade will move around however I want. So I believe it's in the design of the button. It may just be how small the knife is and how light the blade is. I don't think the blade is heavy enough to be able to do things on its own, and it definitely requires that force to get it going, where on the Sencut, that blade is heavy enough and big enough. It's pretty much where all the weight is on that blade. And since it's heavier, it allows you to have that action. So yeah, I personally, unless you're in a place where you're restricted and have to buy smaller knives, I'd say I'd have to recommend the Sencut, which is crazy because, you know, Kizer's like on the level of Civivi plus a little more usually. And Sencut is like the budget of Civivi, and Civivi's like the budget of Wii, which is kind of confusing. But I would say Kizer and Civivi are usually on the same line, but in this case, the Kizer's losing to a Sencut, and that's crazy. But that's, you know, it is what it is sometimes, and you know, that's just my thoughts and opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I do recommend the Kizer. It's a very cool knife. Just, you know, take what I said in this video into consideration. I do have a Kizer that I love in my collection, my October. It's the Moon Knight Special. Actually, I think that is one of the top 10 perfect knives for the price and everything that I've ever held. So do not sit back on Kizer as a company. They're a very good knife brand. This knife is very good. It's just, in my opinion, it's not as good as the Watuga. It's just not, and I've explained why here on this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree. I'd love to know your thoughts. What other button locks should I get? Should I try out? Because I like button locks. I think they're kind of fun. I'd like to get me kind of a nicer one, but you know, there's not anything like crazy flashy out there. A lot of them are just kind of more basic, and I'm not a huge basic guy. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Thanks for tuning in.